Your role as a facilitator in change and in change facilitations when you're working with a group or you're working in front of an audience has also changed in this new virtual and hybrid environment. You need to be thinking about your energy. You need to be thinking about your demeanor more than you did back when things were in person, in real life. In the virtual world, there are some stark differences between how things work in a virtual meeting or a virtual presentation versus how things used to work when we were in person. And as a new world change facilitator, you need to be paying very specific attention to this because it will help you be very successful. I'm Natalia Loback, and this is the Change Course podcast. I've spent my career leading complex change and transformation in organizations. And over my career, I've discovered what makes complex transformational change stick. Connected change is all about leading successful change within the context of the organization. And here at the Change Course podcast, we're all about making change sustainable. So listen in, drop us a like, a comment, and let us know how we can help you connect and change. I've had the amazing opportunity over the past couple months to attend a couple conferences. I feel like this world of conference and presentation and speaking has actually changed a lot as well during this incredible evolutionary time that we're a part of. I want to talk about the difference between two amazing events that I attended. I had the opportunity to attend the ACMP Global Conference, which is a global virtual conference that happens and is run by the Association of Change Management Professionals globally. And what's really cool is that, this is a global organization. So this conference runs 24/7 for 4 days. If you wanted to wake up at 3 a.m. and watch a session, you could. Wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter because it truly is a global environment. I also had the really unique opportunity to attend an in-person live change event that happened here in my hometown of Toronto. And it was very interesting, the contrast that I now saw. The in-person event felt very much like the conferences that I have attended in the past, with a few key differences. It was a hybrid event. I was attending in person, but there were people who were attending virtually. And I have to tell you that I noticed a difference. I noticed a difference between when I attended the ACMP Global Virtual Conference and what I saw happening in this in-person live event. And the learning for me was what I took back to what I need to do now as a change facilitator in a hybrid and virtual environment. Energy matters. The amount of energy that you bring as that lead, as that facilitator, has drastically increased. The need for bringing energy into a virtual space is much higher than it is in an in-person space. And I'll explain a little bit of why I think this is and what it looks like on the outside. I guess I have a bit of an advantage as well. If you go back to the episode titled A Little About Me, you'll learn something about me that is a little bit different from maybe, a bunch of the other change practitioners or change managers out there. I have a background in performing arts. I was a professional singer for a really, really long time. So I am very accustomed to standing up and being on a stage. And when you are performing, you're bringing a lot of emotional energy and a lot of just heightened energy into a space. When you're in person, you get a lot of energy back from your audience. You're creating this really cool kind of experience together where you as the performer are up on the stage and you're co-creating with the audience this incredible experience. It's very similar when you're in an in-person environment. Just by you standing up in front of a room of people, you have the attention of that room focused on you. And as a performer, as a facilitator, you're doing a lot to take that energy and reflect it back into the room. You're doing a lot to direct that energy at different people who might be speaking or contributing at different times. So when you're in an in-person environment, there is that flow between your audience and yourself. So you actually don't have to bring as much to the table. You can stand up in front of a room and be really almost like your normal self with, a few key differences in terms of how you are presenting yourself. But in a virtual environment, that actually isn't as true. I think it has to do with just the way that even on a virtual platform, we're all very much still in our own spaces. We don't have the ability to make eye contact with others through the camera. And even though you might be the center of attention, there's still a bunch of other boxes on the screen, as an example. Or it can very much feel like it's a very one-on-one interaction. All you are seeing is the person who's on the screen. You're not really seeing all of the other people around them. You're not getting the energy or the benefit of that energy in the room as much as you do when you're in person. I noticed this at the ACMP virtual conference. There were those who may have been a little bit more accustomed to presenting on webinars, and you could tell that they knew how to engage their audience, bring really amazing energy and excitement and vigor to their performance in a facilitation or in a presentation. And that's the key thing. It really is a performance. I had the pleasure of watching the keynote as well, and it really stood out. This to me was like the gold standard of what you need to be thinking about and what you need to be doing as a change facilitator in a virtual environment. The person who presented the keynote was Cassandra Worthy. I'm going to link to her page so you can see what she's all about and see who she is. I was absolutely blown away by what her presentation and her approach was. It brought the energy in the room, in the virtual room, up to a level that I don't think I've seen in a very long time. But here's the thing. When you are the presenter, you have got to be bringing that energy at a very high energy level and a high level of performance into that virtual space. It's a broadcast. It's a performance. You need to be thinking about it that way. When I went to the in-person event that was also being filmed live to virtual attendees, the way that the speakers and the presenters were on the stage was very muted. It seemed more muted to me, even though I was in the room and experiencing all of that cool co-creation and co-collaboration and excitement by the folks who were in the room with me. You could see the difference. And I don't think for that reason that those who are on the virtual platform watching the presentations and watching the event live had, that great of an experience, because the presenters were focused on presenting to the room that was in front of them and not also to those who were online. So you didn't get the benefit of that excitement, of that heightened energy. It wasn't as exciting. Now, what I'd like to talk about a little bit is, this idea of this level of performance that you're doing for in the room and also online. One of the places that I can see this happen really, really well is TED Talks. And I know that's like a bit old thinking, right? There's, that's a little bit old in terms of how we're thinking about that. But that's where you can really see what level of energy and what level of precision you need to be bringing to your online persona, your online performance. TED Talks do this well. They prepare the presenter well to both present in a room, but also be thinking about how that comes across virtually. The other place that I've seen do this really well is at a tech conference that I attended in Toronto last year called Collision. That conference does a lot of the same things. They're filming the panels to be in person. So there's like, a slew of people sitting in front of the presenters and watching the panel live, but they are also doing it to be filmed and to be presented in a virtual environment. Not at the same time, that usually happens later, but everything has this hybrid mentality to it. You're presenting to people in the room, but you are also bringing a heightened level of energy and engagement yourself as the facilitator and contributing that into the virtual environment. Here's the thing, it's very hard to do because as a performer and as a facilitator, you're probably used to getting some of that feedback back from your audience, and in a virtual environment, you don't. You have to be, if you need that back from the audience, you've got to be looking at ways to use reactions as you're going through the meeting, encouraging people to do that, encouraging people to use the chat, engaging with people as you're doing that. That's a way that you can start to bring some of that energy back. You can engage people really, really well by doing that in a virtual environment, but you're bringing a heightened level of energy. That does require a little bit more preparation, and it also requires quite a lot of commitment and performance from you. You actually have to be the one who's bringing that at a heightened level into the environment that you are coming into. So as a facilitator, for me, this is one of the biggest things that's changed. And I see a big difference between those who rely on presenting to the people in front of them in a hybrid environment. So they're presenting to the people that are right in front of them in the room, and they're not bringing that level of heightened energy into the virtual space. So what does that look like? Check out Cassandra Worthy's video, please, because I think she is like the gold standard of what I've seen in the change space for this. The second thing is, when you are facilitating, you have to be doing things like looking directly at the camera, making sure you're well lit, making sure that you have a really good mic. I know people really like Bluetooth earphones. I absolutely hate them. The sound quality is terrible. Please don't use them. It just makes you sound like you're talking from the bottom of a well, and it's harder for people to engage. So if you have a really good audio setup, you have to have a good video setup, but you also need to have a good audio setup. Audio is just as important as video. Those two go together. Don't use Bluetooth microphones unless they're really, really high quality. A lot of people use the most popular earbuds out there thinking that they're going to have, a really good experience, and they're terrible. I will be completely honest with you. Out of all of the virtual interviews that I've done, I have had to tell the majority of my participants to ditch the Bluetooth earpieces and, the most popular ones, the little white ones that people always wear. I won't call out the brand because I know I'm probably going to get some backlash, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. They're horrible. The sound quality is awful, and it's usually a little bit delayed from the video, I find. And so you need to be paying attention to that. Make sure your sound quality is amazing. People can't be struggling to understand what you're saying. It takes energy away from people to have to, compensate for the fact that you sound like you're talking from the bottom of a well. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. So don't use them. Use a wired microphone or use a very high quality Bluetooth headset. Very high quality. There are some excellent quality microphones out there. Wireless microphones, Bluetooth, sure, but they're excellent as compared to some of the stuff that you're getting when you buy your phone, as an example. I'll just leave it there. So you need to be bringing that energy. You need to be paying very close attention to how you're presenting, how you're performing, who are you looking at, what are you looking at, what do you sound like, can people hear you, what does your face look like, and is your voice exciting? Do you have excitement? Are you projecting excitement through your body language that people are seeing on the screen? If you want to be successful in this new virtual and hybrid environment, you have got to be performing at a very different level. And when I say performing at a very different level, that's exactly what I mean. You need to be thinking more about your performance and the way that you are presenting and what energy you're bringing into the room as a facilitator, because that is the kind of engagement and energy that you are going to get back. Keep in mind, though, that it does feel like you are pouring into an empty vessel. You are delivering all of this energy, but you're not getting a lot back. And that, to me, is a big change that facilitators need to be thinking about and need to be working through as you're working in this new virtual environment. But it can be done. And there are people out there who are doing an amazing job of it. So if you need to know what I'm talking about and what it looks like, check out the links in the show notes. And I hope that this is helpful in understanding how we can be successful as change facilitators in this new virtual and hybrid environment. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, I invite you to like, share, rate, and subscribe because it helps others find us. Change Course is brought to you by Charthouse Advisory Services and ConnectedChange.com. Our music is Levity by Emily Clausen. Show notes have moved. We're now at ConnectedChange.com. So visit us there under the Change Course podcast page, and you'll find a list of all the resources that I've mentioned here today. While you're visiting us, sign up for the Change Navigator newsletter. You'll keep on top of all things change, and every month we are sharing exclusive content and resources only with our subscribers. So don't miss out. Sign up at ConnectedChange.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's never too late to change course.